Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. Okay, today is a special episode. We're going to be talking about how to work with family and business and the behind the scenes look at Lunch with Norm. You're going to find out how the podcast started, how we manage expectations, and how we deal with challenges as a family working together. So, welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. Kelsey, hit the music.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
All right. Like I was saying, I think it's going to be a really great podcast, especially if you're working with family. But even if you have to work with a contractor or a VA, you might get some insight into this as well. So we will be welcoming Kelsey shortly, but I think we have to welcome the producer of The People. Kills me. Oh, look at you. You're such a musician. And your cup, is that you too?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Shout out to Tim
Oh.
Heidecker.
Okay. All right. Very good. So, because we're talking about Kelsey today, sorry, Abe, you have taken over his job.
Well, I know you're compensating because I know I'm the favorite and that this is like a consolation prize to Kelsey.
Oh, yeah, kind of. All right. That's what I'll agree to that. Okay. So, Hayden, do you know what Kelsey usually says at this point?
No idea.
He's supposed to say, hey, everybody, welcome to Lunch with Norm. Don't forget to smash those like buttons. Give us a follow. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ring that bell. And I'm supposed to interrupt him a few times, and then everything goes, quite fine. But since he's not
people
here,
still fax? Do we take faxes? Can people fax their likes?
Oh my God. You can be replaced very quickly by Kelsey. All right. So, since this is a different episode, we'll be bringing in Kelsey in a second, but let's have a word from our sponsor first. As you know, at Lunch with Norm, bigger is always better. Bigger business, bigger profits, and yes, bigger lunches. Z wants to make sure that your business and profits are bigger by taking you and your business international. They are a one-stop importer of record shop, including compliance and logistics services. They focus on all the elements involved in a smooth first-time custom clearance so that you can focus on what you're good at, selling. Click on the screen now or follow the link in the description box below and get 50% off your first shipment today. You did good, Cade. You hit the button. I mean, I guess you're good at that. Just hitting the button. But
yeah. I think I figured that motion out.
Well, we're going to get you off the screen in a second, but if you do have any questions, this is going to be a great topic for people that are working together, or if you're working even with a VA, throw them over, any questions or comments over in the comment section. So please sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, enjoy the show, and bring in Boy Wonder.
What a terrible idea this is.
I just want to put you on I am not going to say a word. You know what? You know how anxious I get when I'm speaking on stage or if it's live like this. And I'm going to get you back for the amount of times that you just put me on pause without hitting the music. I'll just sit here and just look at you. How's that?
We got 250 episodes of that. Of me toying with you.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's good to be here. Yeah.
Do you want me to tell a little bit about your bio?
Yeah. I'd love to hear what you'd have to say.
Born in the afternoon, March 15th, 1995. A young child was born in Etobicoke, Canada. screaming, yelling, peeing, and pooping, he was there. That's about all I really know. You went to high
And then-
school. You excelled in sports. You were actually quite the athlete. Yeah, you were, and you still are. But anyways, you were, prior to COVID, you were in Korea teaching. You were there for a couple of years, and you were also involved heavily in the mixed martial arts or jiu-jitsu. And COVID happened. You came back here, and we met once again. We reunited.
United.
Yes, we did. And Hayden, that happened the same thing with you too, because you were traveling all over.
Mhm.
So anyways, why don't we just get into it? Kels, one of the first things a lot of people ask me is, how did we even get into this podcast? Because that was the last thing, that was the last thing I ever wanted to do.
Yeah, I don't think people really understand how terrified you were of being in front of the camera and how difficult that was to kind of convince you, and which I think a lot of people have that fear, and it's totally normal. I think I kind of follow in your footsteps. I do not like public speaking. Being in front of the camera, talking to a group of people like this is not my forte, and I've always had kind of like anxious feelings about doing that, but it is definitely getting better. But yeah, when we started, this was all kind of an idea to just build up some social media for you, and video content was really hot. Live video content was even hotter, and so we thought I'd come in and start playing around with your social media, having some fun, and yeah. And
We
I just
went
want to
from
say,
one follower, and
yeah, it was.
I didn't
it was
do
definitely-
social media. I did nothing.
Yeah, which I highly recommend. If anyone listening, if you guys want to check out the first episode and just see how far we've come from that very, very first episode. I remember, so just to preface everything, this is going to be kind of a fun episode. We're talking about working with family. We can take you in behind the scenes. Any of our listeners, if there's anything you guys want to know about the Lunch with Norm production, let us know. I see our coworker Taylor is joining us too. She wanted to come in and say hi along with
Hey,
Jose.
Taylor.
So I also want to just say hello to Steve, Rad. We've got Jessica Rabbit, Simon, Andrew joining us. Hayden, I think you'd get along great with Simon. He's asking, well, what's the fax number? I think you have similar.
1-800 something.
And then we also have Jose, who's in charge of our social media.
What are we doing now?
Hayden's
Hey,
taking the reins.
Hayden's just screwing everything up. You can be fired. We
Yeah,
can take you. We can
cut
remove
the
you.
cord. Yeah.
Oh, you don't like
Can we do that,
some?
please?
No, I don't.
You don't
Stop.
like it? Okay.
I'm stopping that. All right. So, anyways, yeah, the way we started this was we wanted to have like a lunch with Norm, or not even lunch with Norm. It was just social media with Norm talking about Amazon. So we did like a little like what is Amazon post video, and that kind of just turned into, okay, we need more content to talk about. So we added a guest. So I think our first guest was Isabella Hamilton,
Yeah,
or Shane
yeah, I think
Ogba.
so. Yeah.
And then we were like, okay, that seems to be doing well, and so why don't we do this like twice a week or once a week, and then 3 times a week? And
Well, you guys
we
were
kinda just kept
completely
going.
against 3 times a week. But
Yeah.
it was just that, right? It was just going over and starting and creating this content. But it was Danny McMillan that said, why don't you make this into a podcast? And it was but I do remember when the whole brain fart started, and I was out having a cigar. I think you guys were having cigars too, and we were just doing the COVID thing, sitting in the back deck and smoking these cigars, and 3 phone calls came in. And during those phone calls, they ended the same way. I know a guy. And this is where Hayden perks up and said, you should do a podcast called I Know This Guy. And we ended up doing it. And that was kind of interesting because I am not an interviewer. I don't think I'm a great interviewer. And it was just something outside of my realm. But then Kelsey came up and said, you should do something like this as well. We already had a little bit of the content going. He said, well, yeah, we could create a podcast. And it was like, well, what do we call this thing? And then the whole thing started with, okay, what does the brand look like? And this was kind of cool because it didn't have to be orange. We had no idea what the look was going to be. So, I'm kind of curious, your thoughts on, how that brand and the podcast kind of all started to come together.
Yeah, I think it all started with the name where we kind of where it all grew from. I don't know which one of us threw it out first, Lunch with Norm. I know we were trying to figure out like the timing because we obviously don't want to compete with other people's podcasts, and
Right.
especially as a new podcast, it was hard. And we found this slot at 12 o'clock, and I think one of us threw out like, oh, having lunch with Norm or something, and then that became like the name of it. That kind of had like a ring to it that kind of stuck out. The one thing with that is like it's not very searchable. Like who's Norm? What does it have to do with Amazon? Is this about lunch? Is this a lunch show? So that was a little difficult to get around just SEO wise, but slowly, we decided on a color. I think I was playing around with Canva, which if you guys aren't using Canva, it's great. I highly recommend it. It's great for any graphic design if you're not an expert on that. But yeah, I was playing around with some templates. I saw a little like beard icon that kind of looked like Norm, and then I put like a piece of food in it or something, and I liked the look of it and had, you know what? Actually, the orange, I remember where the orange came from. Hayden, you probably know this. If there's any Kanye West fans out there, Life of Pablo just was becoming very big. And Life of Pablo is an album by Kanye West, and he has a very bright orange look to it. And so I decided to make a media post that kind of like looked similar to that feel. And that's where that bright orange came from. So actually, Kanye West is the reason why.
I always thought the orange came from all my other companies.
No.
No,
Kanye,
it was
Kanye.
just Kanye West. Okay.
Always been Kanye.
All right.
So that's a little fun fact for our listeners. Kanye West is the reason for the orange.
Inspiration.
And then Canva, playing around with the icon, we sent it over to our graphic designer, Wenver, and he was able to come back with this design that we saw. Now there's 2 variations, and then we kind of started going with the second one, which is the original now. And talking to some experts, we had Mayan Gordon come on, and I had a little consult with her, and she was saying like, oh, your thumbnails, we should include some food because it's lunch. And it started just growing and growing. And I know, you're a branding expert, and I think that's kind of rubbed off on us just to be like always consistent with our templates and the fonts and everything. So yeah, I don't know, Hayden, if you have similar things, but like I feel like being just consistent with everything has like it's been fairly easy to do, and I think our branding is so strong that it's been easier to kind of keep it going. Yeah.
So one of the things that has kept us a little bit different, which I like, is, and this is tough to do, is we have to be unique. So we discussed, there's a ton. We looked at all the different podcasts that were out there. And when we first came up with it, I mean, it was just a bare white wall in the background. And, how could we be a little bit different? We incorporated the orange lights, but how could we be unique? So Hayden is a musician and came up with the music. So we thought, okay, let's look on a low budget. Let's look at how we can increase the professional value. And then over a period of time, I mean, I think it was just a joke. We came up with the Wheel of Kelsey. And these were a couple of things that we were able to separate us from other podcasts just by coming up with those unique sort of unique, I don't want to say selling features, but separated us from others. And I think that's very important, even when you're doing anything on Amazon or in e-commerce, what separates you from the other person? And then we had to find out, the marketing side of things. But before we get into all that, one of the things I do want to talk, Kelsey or Hayden, we have to manage expectations. And I think that can be tough because, as father and sons, like we've dropped the dad thing. I mean, we still do that, when we're together, but people ask us, do you really call Norm? Well, yeah, because, it's just something we do when we're talking business, but I mean, it's been tough managing expectations and from you guys, like what to expect from me and what I expect from you. And I'm pretty tough to please. You know that. I'm easygoing, but I'm tough to please.
No.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You?
This guy?
Yeah. So just thoughts on that.
You want me to take it?
Go
I'll
for it.
take it. I'll run with it. Yeah. So it was okay. So first off, I want to say, like, we're talking about working with family, and I know this isn't everyone can't work with family, but if you have worked with family before, let us know in the comments section what your thoughts on it have been. Have you had a good experience with it? Is it a goal of yours to have experience? Because one of the things that I get the most is I get emails from me saying like, oh, like I love that you are working with your dad. Like seems very special. Like I wish I'd have that opportunity with my son or daughter. So let us know in the comment sections. And I think I saw a comment from Near saying, I personally love working with my wife. Easy, not always, but she is the best partner I could wish for. So let us know your experience, or if it's something that you'd want to
Your thoughts
on that. If it's a good idea, even if you don't have a son or a daughter, like, is it a good idea with your wife? Do you think? Let us know. But yeah, going back to your question about managing expectations, I think it was tough. I think the toughest thing with this job in particular was that it was always changing. And so it started off as a social media branding thing just to like get you up on social media. So I didn't really have a guide of where to go with it and what it could be. And when you don't have that clear set of rules, I think it's kind of blurry of what the actual actions could be, like what is expected from both of our sides. Oh, Simon. For those listeners, can you throw that comment back up?
Back up. Here we go.
Okay, so for our audio listeners, Simon says it is so cute that you boys look after your dad. So thanks, Simon. Yeah, there's been times where it's been difficult because I think it hasn't really necessarily either something wasn't communicated that was supposed to, or it was just something that either of us didn't know what to expect or expectations, and it caused some tensions at points. But it all comes down to communication, and when those things started coming up, or like that tension, I think it was really important to like have that talk, whether it was our hour-long talks, our 3-hour-long talks, or our 6-hour-long talks.
I was just going to say 6-hour-long talks.
That was the longest meeting I've ever had in my life, and probably will be.
And didn't you guys feel like you were being kicked between the legs for about 5 of those hours?
I think so, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, it was really important to just communicate, like identify what was the problem, and then bring it up and just have like an honest talk about it, because I don't think any of us have any like ill intentions about any about work or how we go about things. Like I know one thing about Hayden and I think we have really good work ethics, and we never just like slack off and just put our hands up in the air and just not do something. So like we're always going to give our 100% effort, and I think Norm is obviously the same situation. He's not slacking off anytime soon. So that's something we have in common that really helps. Yeah, Hayden, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to say something too, is that one thing I had to realize, and I always talk about playing with your strengths. So figuring out where you and Hayden's strengths were, because Hayden was producing, and it was heavy. It was 7 hours worth of editing on I Know This Guy. And we had Saturday mornings booked. We had Friday afternoons booked, like after work, interviewing people. And these interviews went 2 hours sometimes with people who we never met before,
3
and
to
then
4
sending it over.
sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy. But anyways, going again, playing with people's strengths. So Hayden making the music, coming up with some of the creative. But one thing I had to realize with both of you two is that you really weren't educated like as marketers or as social media people or in business. You were, I mean, Hayden, you went to Berkeley for music. Hayden or Kelsey, you went to Guelph, and then you shot off teaching in Korea.
I was teaching
So
ABCs to 3-year-olds.
yeah, there you go, Baby Bear.
Yeah.
So and that's his name in martial arts, by the way. When he's fighting, it is Baby Bear. So if you ever see Baby Bear, versus Conor McGregor, that's who it is. Just saying, just putting it out there. But
Thank you.
that was tough at the beginning, because I think my expectations were a little bit different, because I dealt with people that they had degrees or they've worked in marketing or social media forever. And then, trying to, and one of the things was just re-educate, just, okay, what do you need to do to achieve this? How long is it going to take you to achieve it? Do you need any help with this? And then that's where we looked at hiring, some VAs to help out. And even then, teaching, I know this more with Kelsey, because I would never really got into it with Hayden, but teaching Kelsey how to delegate and delegate properly without freaking out, because you got stressed out. I mean, time stresses you out.
Yeah, and I think at that point it was at the point where we didn't hire anyone at that. We weren't hiring anyone. It was just still just us doing everything. So, I was in charge of emailing all the guests, doing the templates, reaching out, creating the scripts, working with Hayden with the podcasts, creating all the social media content for the Instagram, Facebook page. There's just a lot of stuff. And I kind of reached that threshold where I was like, I can't handle this anymore. I don't know what to do. And I just needed an out. And that's where like your experience with delegation, giving those tips and like helping me, like, first of all, we found out 1 or 2 people that were able to help, which we still have on our team, Nina and Gurley. So shout out to you, Nina and Gurley. You guys have been awesome. We love you. And having just one person to kind of like shift off the email responsibilities, like just brought my stress level down a little bit. And then having someone take off like the social media was another kind of like step down. And so it's been kind of like, it comes in flows, or like ebbs and flows with that stress. But I've been able now at least to like recognize when that happens and figure out like, oh, I need to change this, or we need to get someone off this topic, or to get this. So yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Hayden?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of all
That's
that
enough.
Too. That's it. I'm gone. Bye.
See ya. Get off the screen. There we go. Stop. God, too much control.
Another part of it is that this is partially entertainment. It's partially educational. It's partially a business. Yeah. And so, there's thousands and thousands of hours of like how to market a spatula company, or, how to, like straightforward ways of like creating ads for a product or something. But we have something that's a show, and there's not as much free information for this type of thing. And I think a lot of the people who are really successful within podcasts and YouTube shows, YouTube channels, either have a background in entertainment and the resources there, or have figured it out on their own in their own way. So yeah, I feel like that kind of compounded everything. Where, we are and have and are still are figuring out how to manage
absolutely,
entertainment show. And yeah, it's like none of our backgrounds, like speaking of backgrounds, like none of us, I mean, I come from like the music world, but like that's still very different than running a YouTube channel. And yeah,
There we go.
That concludes my thought.
Okay, well, thank God.
I do want to just add on the note about calling you Norm. I've had a couple people be like, "Do you really call your dad by his first name?" And I'm like, I'm not saying Norm like at the family dinner table. Like I like it's when you're in
Faja.
a business.
Faja is actually what they call
Smurf.
me. Yeah.
Papa Smurf.
Papa Smurf. Yeah.
Travelocity Gnome.
Yeah, that too.
Santa Claus.
Yeah, sometimes
Gandalf.
during the holidays they make me stand in the garden with a little toque on. Yeah.
But yeah, I think in context of like business meetings, it was always something like it would be weird if I were to be like, "Hey, Dad, can you send me the report by Friday?" Or "Daddy, can you like?" It just it's not very professional. So we do have to like even on the podcast, like I mean, our last names are the same, and most people can put it together usually. Like if guests come on, they usually ask like, "Are we related somehow?"
Usually they ask if we're brothers, but I have to let them know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a little fun little thing. It's fun hearing people say like, "Oh, you call your dad Norm?"
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I mean, we touched on it for a second. We have had challenges, we've had disappointments, we've had those talks, and they're hard to do. I mean, working with family, when things are going well, things are going well. And I think that's something I told you guys right at the beginning, is that we're going to have a honeymoon period here. Things are going to be fine, but we have to make sure that we address these things and nip them before any resentment, any anger. It's fine to get pissed off, right? And we do. I vent. You guys know, you probably got a little bit of video on me venting, which will never be shown ever. But anyways, I mean, but we have to be able to talk to each other straight up, and we have to have regular meetings. And one of the things that I think was so important that you guys were able to pick up very quickly is on the delegation side, but on the SOP side, like I drilled it into your heads about how important it is to make SOPs and train any VA on SOPs so they can train people. And like, I get this all the time. Doesn't that take a ton of time? Like, how do you put out 3 episodes a week? How do you do all the social media? I show up and talk 3 hours. I literally, Kelsey or Taylor does, like she's on here right now, but she does the SEO. We have about 5 people that work with this show. And at the end of the day, like I open up my computer 5 minutes, usually 5, maybe 10 minutes prior. I read the script, like the different questions, talking points, and then we get into it. That's what I don't even know. So sometimes I just did this. Who was it? I asked somebody, hey, it'd be a great idea to be on the podcast. And they said, well, we're on Wednesday. And it was like, I had no idea because I don't reach out to anybody. Nina does all of that. She does all of our outreach. You guys will ask me for, people to talk to, but that's the beauty of it. And if you take that model, that's how you can bring that into a business, and you can have multiple businesses or multiple brands, because you don't necessarily, I find that there's really 4 types of task category: $10 an hour, $100, $1,000, and $10,000. You guys let me figure out the networking and, that side of the business, biz development. And you guys can figure out that 100 to 1,000, and you task out, the highly repeatable tasks. And it works really well. And I'm not saying that one task is $10. I'm just saying that multiple easier tasks could be a $10 task. Doing PPC could be $1,000 task or something like that. But it's all broken down. So Monday, Wednesday, or Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time, I can sit down and talk.
Yeah. Let me see. Where can I go with this? It was difficult at first.
Oh, look who's
Getting
here.
those SOPs.
Look who's here.
Trouble is
Special
coming.
I didn't know
guest.
you guys were such stars. Oh my god. Look at you.
Simon
Now
was
we-
asking for you.
Oh my
Yep,
God,
we
did
are
you call me?
live, so be nice.
I don't think she could hear.
Usually, if anybody's going to be screaming and yelling at the boys, it's usually, my wife. I'm sorry.
Scarred for life.
She's
Yeah.
got quite a temper on her.
She does have quite a temper. You're right.
Clearly. After seeing that
That is so
interaction.
not true.
There you go. There you go. She's cleaning up. I don't know. She sees you and she's cleaning up. I don't know why.
I'm just wiping up Dad's spills. His
Uh-oh.
coffee.
is
She
he being
really does
messy
not
again?
realize that we are live. Okay, bye.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was saying was that like with the SOPs, my hair. With those SOPs, it was very difficult at first when I was already super stressed with all of the work, and then I had to start training people on top of that
Yeah.
and recording the SOPs. So it was really, really difficult to get over that hump. It was like that week to 2 weeks of just like going through like the email templates, like creating those, like creating the videos on how to like send out to our guests, trying to figure out if there's anything that I'm missing, communicating with our email coordinator, all of that stuff. It was really difficult. And for 2 weeks, I was like pushed to my limits. But then immediately afterwards, when Nina was able to grab it and work with it, and it seemed to be working, I went from, doing that for an extra 5 hours of my day to like,
And you were freaking
completely
out.
removing that.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you were like, I
Yeah.
remember when we were having the talk that you were just completely stressed. And, one of the things that I like to talk about with anybody owning a business is that the first SOP is always tough. But if you do one SOP, the easiest SOP, like the most repetitive task, and you do one of those a week or one of those a month, that's 52 or 12 that you get off your desk. And like you said, Kelsey, how quick was it for you to actually feel the stress coming off?
Yeah, it was almost immediate. Like,
Yeah.
and I know we've even gone so far to have someone create SOPs for us now, and like we just give simple instructions, and they're able to take majority of it, and then just go into SOP mode and just shoot those out too. So it doesn't even always have to be you creating the SOPs necessarily if you have a specific format, but if you can just create a video about it while you're doing the task, it makes things a lot easier too.
Hey, I've got a really special giveaway today. So we thought, oh, what can we do? And anyways, we thought we could do something really cool. So, but if you do have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section. It could be any questions about working with family, working with VAs, anything at all. Just
any questions about Lunch with Norm too?
Yeah,
If you have
any questions about how we do
your
things,
favorite
or
episodes?
yeah, any of that,
whatever.
just throw it in there. But today we have decided that we're going to give away a really great giveaway. First of all, Kelsey is going to provide a half-hour session on social media. And if you've ever seen our social media, he does a great job. Hayden, if you don't know, he works with the chat agency, but he also does a lot of work with influencers, and he can help you out with talking about or what to look for or how to look for some influencers, and he can guide you down the right path. So he'll provide a half-hour session. I'm going to provide a half-hour session on Amazon or eCom or whatever you want to talk about, business, anything at all. Plus, we're going to put in a month of Centurion League. And if you're in North America, we're going to send you out a mug and a box of chocolates. It's going to be a massive, it's about $1,000 giveaway today. So if you're interested, that would be great. This is everything except for Simon. Everybody.
Simon's not allowed.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Just joking, Simon.
All right.
So next, and all you need to do, by the way, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or tag 2 people and we'll get you another entry. Okay.
Or hashtag Wheel of Hayden. I've already seen
Or
some
hashtag
people.
hashtag producer of
Hashtag
the
Wheel of
people.
Hayden's
right.
are taking
Yeah,
over.
right.
something like that. Okay, so let me know, like, what do you think works well? Like, what are we doing right? What are we doing, I don't want to say wrong, but what are we doing right as a group? Is it our communication? What do you think our strengths are?
What are we doing right? That is a good question.
We're just winging it.
Great mugs.
Yeah, A+ quality.
Yeah, great music.
Yeah, I think now I think our communication is pretty good. I think we have a good system. We know what to expect of each other, and we can figure out what needs to be done in our meetings and everything. So that's always good to do.
And you're doing, like, not just you and me or you and Hayden, but you have, like, this is quite important. Your ability to communicate with our team. And for those that don't know, I think we have five people that put together Lunch with Norm for our social media, our SEO, for engagement. It's not simple. And we can get into that in a second, but the way that you communicate with the team on a group meeting and then one-on-one, and this, I believe you do it weekly, don't you? Because
yeah,
I'm
I have.
far removed.
Yeah, I'll explain it to you.
Okay,
just so
what do you do,
now.
Kelsey?
So we have a team meeting that we do every other week on Mondays, and so I found a group meeting every week. It seemed to be like there wasn't enough to talk about to take everyone out, and it could be done every 2 weeks, and nothing would really change. Just to catch up on everything, if there's any big updates that needs to be done about sponsors or anything like that. And then weekly, though, I have like a 15-minute, sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it can go along as an hour, but usually 10 to 15-minute meeting that just checks in on individuals in our group, in our team, and just to go over like what's happening right now. Is there any issues? Anything that's going well? What can we do better? And it's usually 10 to 15 minutes that goes through that. And then me and you have meetings usually either in the afternoons on a random day or on a weekend randomly. But then that all gets coordinated. So I also want to shout out our team. Some of them are joining. I know it's late for some of them. I don't know, like Taylor, Taylor's one of them. So they pulled an April Fool's Day prank on me too. So shout out to Gurley, Leota, Nina, Taylor, Wenver, Jose,
Xenia.
Xenia too. Yep. You guys are amazing. And thank you for all of your hard work. It wouldn't be the same without you. And yeah, about the April Fool's Day, they thought it'd be funny to change all of the Slack names to Kelsey Farrar with my profile picture. So I woke up one morning to 5 different Kelsey Farrars, and they were all talking to each other in the Slack channels, pretending it was normal. And I was going to Hayden, like, Hayden, I think I've been hacked. Like something like Slack is glitching out, like freaking out. Oh, I don't know what's going on. And like I had the podcast that afternoon too, so I was stressed and I didn't know what was going on. And then everyone was joking around. I was like, why is everyone joking around? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And then they were just like, I propose. And instantly I was like, oh, that's great. That's a good prank. So I think Gurley was the mastermind behind that. So I got to get them back somehow. I'm still thinking of what, but yeah.
So why don't we talk about, because I want to get into some of the questions too, but why don't we talk about the behind the scenes? Like, people see us talking, for 3 hours. They see some social media go up there, but what does it take? Like, remove me, because I come in, like I said, I sit down for an hour and I talk. But what does it take to put together an episode? It's not just writing a cut or inviting guests. It takes a lot of work. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so right now we're in the process of actually, creating all of the SOPs, updating them all, and it's crazy how much work it actually does take to have this going. So the first thing that really makes things difficult is that this is a live podcast.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure the guest knows everything. We have things scheduled beforehand. We have all their information. They know it's a live video podcast, and it's
But they
not a
come on
recording. But they come on-
sometimes a little bit late.
Yeah, but they need to come on before 12 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest hurdle. If this was like a recorded podcast, it would make things a lot easier, but we don't roll like that. So it starts with, getting the guest information, kind of figuring out, also 3 times a week too. So we need three guests, 3 different guests, 4 weeks in a month. So yeah, a lot of guest management is important. That's where Norm's networking really comes in handy. He knows a lot of people, and we can talk to others and find out these guests, and we have a good list of people to work with. But that quickly ran out, so we've had to expand from that.
Yeah.
So outreach to guests is one thing. Communicating with the guests, getting their information, their bio, their headshot, their topics that they like to talk about, releases, making sure that's all good, that they're setting up a schedule for them to easily find the link. They've got to then we've got to make the content around that episode. So we want to preview that it's we want to let our guests, our audience know that this is happening. So we have to write content around it. Then we have to record the episode with them. We have to do all the YouTube, Facebook editing, adding timestamps to things, all that fun stuff.
Transcribing.
Transcribe it. We have to upload it to the website, create content for the website. So blogs, articles. So that's a blog team that we have. There's a whole
show notes.
That's Hayden's expertise is in the blog writing. He's the blog team over there. The video content outside of it. So that those short little snippets of like minute-long videos, either from the podcast or Norm just doing like a fact on his Instagram, which Norm Farrar, follow on Instagram. But there's then communicating with the guests afterwards, and it's a lot of work. And yeah, just making
I would
sure
have had
is
no
running
idea
smoothly.
when we sat down for the first podcast, even getting the right equipment. I mean, how many mics did we throw out? Lights, just trying to get an orange light. You remember the hassle? Every time we bought an orange light, it would be too light, and it wouldn't show up orange in the background. And those lights, we probably went through 5 different suppliers on lights. You remember the stupid LED lights that you hung all over the place?
Such a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Such a fire hazard.
But even like the lighting, all of this, it was all done on a whim. Like we were just faking it until we made it. But anyways,
yeah, even those little foam pads behind you, that was me and Hayden,
and the tape we can use so they wouldn't
paper.
Take the paint off the wall.
There's definitely drywall damage after.
Yeah. Oh my god. Don't say that.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, I'm not sure if there's anything else that you want to talk about. I mean, I do have one quick thing, and I think what's important on the whole team, not just with you or Hayden, but it is allowing anybody on the team to get the training they want. If they want to become a better person on TikTok or on LinkedIn or whatever, we do offer that. And I shoot you over courses all the time. Hey, you want to take this? So these are things that we're always looking at to better the staff. Okay. Unless there's anything else from your end, we can get into the questions or the comments.
So just to comment on that, I think at the beginning, I completely forgot about this because it was almost 3 years ago, but coming from Korea, I had no experience with social media other than doing like Instagram and Facebook on my own.
And following the boy bands.
And following, BTS.
Yeah, BTS.
Yep. They're great. Everyone should listen to them. Check them out, BTS. Good stuff. But yeah, I had no experience with social media. So the first 3 to 4 months was just me working on Norm's social media on Facebook, like writing content myself. I didn't even think about curating content. So I was physically looking up information, writing it all out, creating the graphics day by day basis and posting it. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was doing like at least 2 to 3 hours of course materials, learning about like how to start a social media agency, Facebook page, like how to grow a Facebook page, all of that stuff. There we go. Dynamite, BTS, great song. So yeah, there's a lot of teaching and studying that was happening. Then Norm would go and give me even more direction on certain things too. So there's a lot going into that. But also hashtag Wheel of Kelsey to enter our giveaway. Have a consult with Norm about anything you'd like. Hayden about influencers.
Or music. We also said that,
music.
hey, if you want to learn have a music lesson, go ahead.
Guitar lessons.
I will be doing a social media consult as well. You'll get a Lunch with Norm mug and a box of chocolate too. And that's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey.
Oh, don't forget
or
Centurion
Wheel of
League.
Hayden, and a month of Centurion League. So there's a whole bunch of stuff happening. And yeah, that's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey if you want to comment that. And I see we have lots of questions happening.
All right, let's get into them.
All right. So Hayden, you want to pull one up?
Sure.
Take your time.
Just go
right
for
away.
it.
Okay.
Talk about TikTok, your TikTok presence.
All right. So can I talk about how to do TikTok? That in itself, as a business standpoint, I'm still learning from that. I actually had a great talk with Paul Harvey. Shout out Paul Harvey. Today,
Great
we
guy.
talked about 45 minutes about TikTok and how to optimize that for brands and what you should be doing. So basically, you want a business or a TikTok business account, probably from the US. So that is a little tricky if you're outside of the US. So you want to make sure that you have a VPN and you're very diligent about using that account and having it for US, because TikTok will show your ads to different accounts depending where you are. So that's super important. And then also just making sure if you're doing content, make sure it's relevant to TikTok. TikTok isn't super addy. Like the advertisements that you see, you don't recognize them as advertisements on TikTok. So you have to make sure you spend time seeing the different content that's on there. I highly recommend checking out your competition, because your competition probably is doing something, and if they're doing it right, if you're seeing they're getting lots of likes and stuff, they're doing something right. Don't copy them, of course, but get inspiration from them. But let them do all the hard work, and then you can just kind of, throw your brand voice into it, get ideas from them, kind of figure out at least what kind of content you should be doing on TikTok, because it's going to vary very differently from all the different niches out there and products. So that's what I would start with. There's so much you can do with it.
And
sounds.
I would highly recommend. So with your brand, you can do a lot with staying on target with your brand. But if you take a look at what we did, or what Kelsey did on TikTok, it's actually got it's called Lunch with Norm. It has nothing to do with me, but it's a lot of fun, and we're just building it out now. So if you want to see just an area that is completely off brand, but it's not, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but check out, and you'll see some really great videos, and it's got the feel of TikTok, which if I did it, it would probably suck, because I'm just this guy talking about, I just wouldn't have that. I'm not that TikTok guy. Kelsey is. So anyways, check it out, and you'll get a feel for it. And like he said, check out your competition. And there's lots of good information on the internet about TikTok. You can take courses. There's lots of stuff you can do.
Yeah. So I think the biggest tip that Paul was saying to me was you can hire people to film TikTok style content for your products or brands. Do that. They don't even have to be influencers. You can just hire someone to do that kind of video content for you. That way you don't have to deal with influencers at all. And then you can just boost those ads on TikTok and get all that stuff, but you don't really have to worry about influencers. So that's one thing you can look into as well. So yeah.
Okay, next
question from Taylor.
Taylor.
Do Hayden or Kelsey want to be involved in running the business at first? Who was your best candidate between them?
Ooh, this feels like Succession.
Well, I don't think either of them ever wanted to get involved with the business. Hayden was doing his musical thing, doing his own thing on the, just a lot of the traveling around. Kelsey was over in Korea doing his thing. COVID really pulled us all back. Even Quentin, that's my other son, but kind of pulled us back, and we started talking.
He wants to be a doctor.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, when we started talking, this was just an actual fluke. And I'm really happy it turned out this way. I never expected ever that I'd be working with my my at least the two better of the kids. The other guy, just Dr. Q. But anyways, DQ.
Right.
That's his short. Yeah, DQ.
A little blizzard that could.
That's.
All right, from Marsha. How far distance do you all live from each other? How often do you get together for work, and how much family time gets evolved into business talk?
Okay, so at the beginning of the pandemic, like we were saying, I was in Korea. Hayden, you were in Toronto, and then Norm, you're like an hour north of us.
2 hours from downtown.
Yeah, 2 hours from downtown. That's where we were. And then we had COVID happen, and it ended up being, I would say, like May or June. I was in Toronto. Hayden is now in Montreal. Q, our little brother, was in Vancouver for the first half, and now he's studying in Ontario. And you're still where you are, obviously. So we've all kind of moved around, but I think we're kind of like now stuck a little bit more. How often do we get together for work? Holidays. That's
you're
when
a little
we're, like,
different. You come up because I pay you a lot more than Hayden. Free food, yeah. But I mean, you're closer, so yeah, you'll come up, and I see you like more often than the others. So it might be every month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah, it varies. Sometimes it's every month. Sometimes it's every other month.
Yeah. And do we talk? I think we don't, like, at first, and that was an issue. Well, I was always talking business, coming up middle of the night. Hey, what about this idea? Hey, what about these guys would be watching TV, and it was, hey, we got to talk about this right now. Boom, 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 boom. And so I had to back off on that. We talked about that. Now, when they come over, we go out, we have a cigar, blah, 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 blah. We might shoot an idea back, but there are a time and place to discuss business, and it's not during, watching a movie.
Weekend. Yeah, like when you're hanging out with family on the weekend.
Yeah,
that was one of the big issues, I think, because social media can be anywhere. You can always look at the stats, the followers, the content. There's always something to talk about. And so for me, especially in COVID, when I'm literally living in the same house, like during COVID, so it was very hard to
sleeping in the same bed.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's very hard to like detach ourselves from that, and it was just very difficult to not have to talk about work. So I had to kind of set that boundary, being like, after 5 p.m. I don't want to talk about work. On the weekends when we're having lunch or something, I don't want to talk about work. If there's a meeting or something on the weekends, I'm fine with that. If there's a meeting on the weekday, anytime, that's fine. But like, I don't want to just have our family time be work. So yeah, that's that.
All right.
Now we're pretty good. We're good on that.
All right. Next
from Taylor again. Was it hard to work with family members?
I think we always got along. I mean, whether we wanted to take this on, that's a whole other point. But once we started to get this and it started to gel, I think it was great. I don't think we would do it if it was a pain in the butt to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just sometimes we have different strategies that I think we want to do, and like directions of things, and we kind of butt heads sometimes on that direction, or
because I'm always
whatever.
right.
Exactly.
I'm always right. Yeah.
And that's what we've learned.
Yeah.
So now it's so it can be difficult in different aspects, but I think the more we've been working together, we've kind of like figured out where those blind spots are or where it's difficult, and then we've kind of just evolved it, and now it's become, I would say, easier and easier. But when like a new project or if we're working with a new client or something, I feel like it starts all over again. We have to figure out, because there's a bunch of different things we need to kind of figure out what the roles of us are and how to best tackle things and make sure there's no miscommunications about like the tasks and who's responsible of what. So all in all, it gets better, especially from like the first day when we didn't know what we were doing, I would say. But yeah.
Kelsey's massive ego too.
That's the problem.
God.
Having to deal with that.
All right, next question. What's your process of reviewing all the work that has been delegated? Isn't it time consuming? Kelsey.
All right, that's me. So part of the work that I'm doing that I'm delegating is, I would say, like email coordination. So that kind of stuff, that's super important to nail down. So that I was very, very involved with, like breaking every step down, making sure that the name and the subject title is the name to the person that you're sending it to, and you're not mixing up emails, or that you need to track the emails that you're sending to. So at the beginning, I was very, very hands-on in that. But now, just like anything, like I believe Nina will just CC me in emails, so I'll be able to like check. But we've been working together so much now that she's a pro at what she does, and she can do most of the stuff without me checking, and I can always go back and check and check in. And that's part of like those weekly meetings that I do. So I check in every week for 10 to 15 minutes just to see like what's new, what's happening. Has there been any problems? Is there anything that you're working on? And that's also when I would check in on things. If there's new thumbnails that people want to present, if there's new strategies, that's the time where they're going to bring it to me, and I can take a look at it, and I can spend that 10 to 15 minutes going over everything. For social media stuff, they'll send me a document where I just briefly check over, make sure everything looks good. Like the graphics, there's no spelling issues or anything. And yeah, that's it.
We don't allow that, but there is an SOP on how to make a good cup of coffee.
For those audio listeners, it says, what is the SOP to ask for a raise? So I got to start working on that.
Yeah.
0 plus 0 equals
our next meeting.
Yeah. Our next
we'll
meeting.
dedicate to that. All right. From Redbeard, what constitutes the 1 hour cutoff? Why do we decide on the 1 hour cutoff?
So that's our calendar time. So a lot of these guests, like you have to imagine that all of the guests that we have on all have wild different schedules. They have different processes for scheduling everything. Even the time slot 12 p.m. Some people don't do that. We've had guests where they're like, I don't do 12 o'clock. And it's like,
Yeah.
well,
That's
then
what we
can't do that.
have. Sorry.
So to make things easier, we have to stick to a certain time. We have to be consistent and say it's from 12 to 1 p.m. Now, we created a calendar for that, so guests can just pick a time slot, put their name in, and that's their time slot. So those guests, they're all business workers, they all CEOs, founders. When they have something on their schedule, that's an hour time slot. That could be the only time they can talk for that. For us, they'll have back-to-back meetings the rest of the day. Maybe they're going on vacation, but they're guaranteed that within that time slot, that's the time we have them for. Now, a lot of the guests, they'll be like, I don't have anything. I'm having lunch after this. I can talk whenever. My next meeting is at 2:00.
Yeah,
I can keep going. So that's when there's no cutoff. But for a lot of our guests, that hour time slot, that's the time that we have them for, and that they've allowed us to interview them and do this with them. So we have to keep them. We can't really force them to stay longer than that, and that doesn't feel right. And we can't customize time slots. That would
I mean,
just make
the
things
podcast
complicated.
end when the podcast ends. We've had some at 45 minutes. We've had some, I think Kevin was the longest, or maybe
hour and a half.
Sharon's.
Michael Kurtz too.
Michael
hour and a half.
Kurtz, yeah. So, 90 minutes long, but it's done when it's done. And I think that's a lot different than a lot of other podcasts. I actually thought an hour time slot when we started talking about this was way too long. Who's going to listen for an hour? And we will see that fluctuation, but people can go back to the podcast. We're probably hurting ourselves a little bit. Like the ideal time for a podcast is probably 20 minutes to a half hour. But we're hoping that going down a bunch of different rabbit holes, people will have that interest and we can get into topics that a lot of people aren't talking about.
We also have like the live aspect to it too. So we really wanted to incorporate like questions from the audience. And so we could definitely have, like, if this was a recorded podcast, we could definitely work out more with the guest a specific concept for the episode and really drive it in, and then just have that, and then have that 20 to 30 minutes. Or we could do this where I think, everyone wants to contribute, and it's great to talk to our Beard Nation that we have here. And yeah.
Okay. Next question.
All right. How do you determine which task to delegate to which VA? Is it based on experience or based on their preferences?
So I think
you want me to take that, or you go ahead?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. Yep. We have a couple different VAs that we had from other companies that we can kind of go to. They have certain level of skills that they have that we can kind of like pick and choose. If we have a task, will this be a good task for person A or person B? And we've just over time, we've kind of drilled in what their responsibilities and what they're good at, or whatever it may be. And we can kind of pick and choose, or if maybe someone's needing more hours and someone's already full, we can choose to give it to someone else. So it kind of varies on that. But then there's also times where we hire specific people. If it's something that, say for engagement, we went out and specifically looked for someone who is really good at creating Facebook engagement or Instagram or LinkedIn engagement, stuff like that. So I don't know, anything else?
No, I just like delegating to a VA, just very simple. If it's a repetitive task, take the most common repetitive task, get those started, and then, you can progress. It's one of these things I always say, just do it. So many people, even if you don't have a VA, start creating the SOPs. So when you do grow, you'll have it. And even if you just do a really good video to have online, or to have that they can refer to once you do get to a certain point.
Okay. I also do realize, Hayden, I know you have to get going soon. So, and you also have the Wheel of Kelsey, or Wheel of Hayden.
I also have the Wheel of Kelsey.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So,
how much time do you have, Hayden?
I got 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. And then we can just get Well, I'd rather talk with Kelsey anyway. Because
I know.
Yeah. I mean,
I get the picture here. Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay.
I know
All
what's
right,
happening here.
Hey, next question. Just do your job.
Aren't we jumping into the wheel of Hayden?
Oh, are we doing that right now? Okay, we can do that.
We can do that. Let's do the Wheel of Hayden.
And then just get the
real creative name. Yeah, really.
Yeah. Wheel of Hayden.
Wheel of Hayden, and then you can
entitled.
leave.
So entitled.
And then you can definitely leave after that.
And then we can finish off a couple of these other questions.
And then we can finish off the questions.
I'll take this episode down with me.
Let's go.
It's time for the Wheel of
Okay.
Some of my finest work, honestly.
All right, so let's get to the wheel.
Okay, let me figure out how to share my screen.
We're talking about a consult with Kelsey for a half hour, a consult with Hayden on influencers or music for a half hour. I'm going to anything you want to talk about for a half hour. The month of the Centurion League, a mug, and the chocolates. Great package today. Why don't you do that right? There we go.
Well, you don't
okay.
Like
no, I don't
the
think.
Effect called
No,
Infinity effect.
That's the creative side of Hayden.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
All right, here we go. Who's it going to be? Michael
E.
Okay, that's Michael Eastman.
There we
Congrats.
Go. All right.
Okay, now you can get out of here.
All right, that's it.
Or you can make this really kind of awkward, but yeah, you can go now. See ya at next family dinner.
Well, that was something.
That was. Okay, so that'll be a last. We ask him to come on. Okay, so we got 8 questions left. Let's just whip through them.
Okay, I also want to say our latest blog is up. It's a guest blog from Z. It's about 5 expensive mistakes FBA sellers make when going global. I'm going to post that link right now. So check it out. It's our latest blog. And let's see these questions we can go through.
Okay.
Jessica Rabbit, aka Roz. I'd like each of you to tell your biggest surprise of working together as a family and each of your one most fervent wish for working together in the future.
Go ahead, Kelsey.
Okay, biggest surprise. I didn't realize what my dad did for business. I always heard Amazon you have to understand Norm has so many different businesses in the world that he's working on. He's got his hands in everything. I would hear about him doing a podcast and I'd only know about like comedy podcasts or something. And I was very confused. So actually slowly understanding like what is Amazon, what is sourcing and logistics, what does he really do? There's a press release company, but is it content marketing? But who is Shane and Awful Lobby and Paul and what are chatbots and what does it Amazon FBA mean? Is that the same as wholesale? So the biggest surprise was just kind of like, oh, this is a whole world that was there that I had no idea even existed. This little niche we have here that you guys spend with us. It's been great. And then our most fervent wish for the future, I would just say keeping communication up, making sure that we're always open with each other about how we feel about things, and being okay with not, I wouldn't say criticism, but just
kicking you between the legs and watching you get up time and time again.
Yeah, sure. But being honest with your feelings about the business, because I think, it's very easy. This is like a passion project with us, so it's very
Yeah.
easy for us to be like, I like the templates actually. Like, what are you saying? You don't like the templates? You don't like me? It's very easy to take it personally. So just like always making sure that like we're taking a step back and being like, this is about the business. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And for me, I mean, probably the biggest surprise is to see how the kids really grabbed on and just got it, without taking a course or going through school with marketing or branding, and just being wanting to work with the business, because I mean that really just was me kind of working with them, and if they could deal with that, that's great. And for us, it's just growing our brand, like growing. We don't make only reason we bring on sponsors here is to cover their costs. It's very expensive, and it was just throwing out money. We're not making money. We don't take affiliates. If we do, it would be very rare, and that's only because the affiliate, the person that we're getting the affiliate, can't separate the affiliate. So we have to do that, but we discount the affiliate to cover that off. So we don't make money on the podcast. Um, so being able to grow out and become uh, a bigger brand in the industry would be great, because we do everything organically. We don't buy any likes. So that's it.
Okay, great. So thank you for the question. From Claudia, who decides which guest to book? It's kind of a mix between us. I'm in charge of like scheduling the guests, but and now I kind of know who people are in this industry, so it makes things easier and like the topics that they're going to be talking about. So either Norm will send over some topics or some guests to
Screenshots.
me, screenshots sometimes of just people's names, and I just do my best to find emails of people or stalk them on social media and reach out. Or I go and do my own research and find the guests, or I ask you guys and you guys tell me who we should have on the guest. So again, that's k@lunchwithnorm.com. So there's been several guests that our members have said like, oh, this is a really great guest, or this person has really great software. Do you think they'll come on the show? And sometimes it's like the founder of a billion-dollar company or like a top digital marketer, and that no, but then a more niche like Amazon software, those people would be a lot easier to contact, and I'm able to book them. But yeah, it's a mix between the both of us, I think, who comes on and who we book.
Yeah.
Okay, next. How did you get the idea or theme for Wheel of Kelsey? That's a great question. That was just simply
We were just joking.
I don't know what our first prize even was.
I don't know, but it was a giveaway. It was just, I don't know who came up with it, but it was like, yeah, it was just a joke.
Yeah, so I think we thought about doing like a giveaway for the episode. I don't know if maybe you wanted to, you were coming up with a new service or something, and you wanted to just be like,
we wanted to be different. We wanted to, what
Yeah.
can we give, people, how can we be different? We came up with it, but we didn't have a name for it. It was actually
Yeah.
on one of the podcasts that we just said, Wheel of Kelsey, and it kind of stuck.
Yeah, so I think, and then I had to figure out a way to do a contest, and so I just randomly did like a wheel generator in Google, and I came up with this thing that says like Wheel of Names. That's the website that we use for that. Anyone can use it. It's like the first thing that comes up, and then because it's called Wheel of Names, I think we just went with Wheel of Kelsey, and it's stuck. And yeah, that's how it is.
Hey, I gotta just remark, like make a comment. I see Simon is a very tough to take Norm's cutting harsh remarks personally. We have had people reach out and say, would you please stop insulting Kelsey? It's not very nice. And anybody who doesn't know our personalities, yeah, I mean, this is, I don't know. I can't say. I think it just bounces off each other's shoulders.
Yeah. I'm totally okay with it. It's just what we do. I'm not taking it personally, but I can see how other people could see. Like if it's, I've seen. I don't think I've told you this, but like with this software that you're seeing us on, if the guest is off air, I can still see them, but
Yep.
like I can see the little video screen off
So
air.
you're spying on them?
Yeah, so like when we're talking and stuff, when we do like the Wheel of Kelsey, I can see their reactions, where I don't think you necessarily can.
No.
But when you make some remarks, sometimes the guest will be like, "Oh."
How could he say that about?
Yeah, so that's always fun to see.
Yeah.
And hello, one of our favorite guests. Do you guys from Sharon? Hey, for our family, do you guys actually call Norm or Dad when you're not on screen? In business settings, yes. But outside of that, no. I just Dad, and that's how we do things.
Or like Hayden says, Faja.
Faja.
That's usually it's not Dad, it's Faja.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're not a weird family if we don't call each other first names.
Yeah.
And then from Andrew, would change anything.
Not saying that is weird if you do.
Yeah. Sorry, I misspoke. Yeah, that you can call your family whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. I don't personally call my dad Norm though. Let me see. And how many VAs do you have from Rad?
For the show, we have I think a minimum of 5. I think bringing on Xenia, who's awesome. Yeah, I think that's the 6th. Xenia works part-time, and she does just like really great work with SOPs.
Yeah. And let me see. So there are some awesome,
and that's strictly for the podcast, by the way.
Yeah. And Jessica says, does a child really know or really understand what their parents do for work? It's great. I saw some people talking about the Facebook Live link. There's a little bit of a glitch today, so we're not streaming into the Facebook Live group, but the Facebook page and on Norm's page, those are all available to watch. So sorry if that caused any confusion for anyone. Claudia is saying, stick to the 1 hour plus. There's so much to learn, so we definitely will. Digital marketing topics are broad, and you can talk more than 90 minutes about it. So I think people are happy with the hour long or more.
There we go.
And let me see. I think we got most of those questions.
Perfect.
Sorry, I'm trying to like
trying to do your job.
Trying to do my job.
All right.
A little bit of multitasking, but I think that's much. Kelsey is a tough guy and can take it. I have thinner skin. And how do you handle so many plates in the air at the same time, even with SOPs? I don't know if that's directed at both of us.
Well, SOPs. I mean, that's what SOPs in hiring good people. So if Kelsey doesn't know how to do something, let's say at the very beginning, and I was able to train them. So training is very important. Just like any VA, being able to go out there, explain, maybe do a video, have the SOP with screenshots, and then letting them do it. And if they make a mistake, I mean, if it's Kelsey, again, I kick it between the legs, but with anybody else, it would just be, okay, it's a learning experience, no matter what the mistake is. It's probably on the person who put the SOP together, or, and I'm talking about if that would be me. There could be a review. Okay, the biggest part here, the biggest takeaway when you're doing an SOP is let the person make a mistake, but also come back with the solution. If you're making the solution for them, then you're going to be the answer person, and I don't want to be the answer person. So if there's an issue with, I don't understand this, I made a mistake. Okay, so how do we fix it? And that's the question that a lot of people, Kelsey hears me say a lot, just, all right, how do we fix it? Mm-hmm. So anyway,
yeah,
that's
absolutely. And then on top of that, your best friend, or me personally, I know some people like computers and certain apps, but for me, I have a notebook of just like the notes from my day. So anything that I have.
You millennial?
No, I'm like a mix. I'm like a millennial and a Gen
You're
Z.
mud.
I'm a
Mud.
zillennial.
Yeah. I
But
didn't
I
think
do.
that notepads I mean,
This
come
is
on.
from like day one of working. I started Notepad, and it's my number one thing. If I
No
didn't
wonder
have
you're
this,
slow.
I've tried computers or apps and like making notes, but I physically like just how fast and easy it is to just
Really?
jot something down. And yeah, I've gone through like I've had like 10 to 12 notepads that
I just like
I
putting it on Mac Notes, and I just go into search, and I can search out anything we talk about.
it's not the same. You can write it and then
All
you
right.
can physically like cross it off too. It really is satisfying. And then
Sharon, come
see,
on, don't take a
that's
side.
my notepad squad. Yeah, and then let me see. There's one more thing from
Okay.
Michael Eastman. He's saying we need a Wheel of Kelsey T-shirt, which we
I think
do.
we have, don't we?
We do, but I think we can revamp it.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just a
that's
big
one thing
giant
that I kind of want to do is
face of
create,
Kelly.
really get a good merch shop with some high quality stuff, and really just kind of not, make some merch that you guys can wear inconspicuously
Yeah.
roaming around the world. And last one from Taylor: tips for family who'd like to work together. You have any?
Yeah, just just realize that there's going to be good days and bad days, and be able to realize that you're not always right. Sometimes I mean, especially for me, old dog, um, you know, it's hard to retrain somebody who's set in their ways. And if you're bringing on family members, there's different ways of doing things. You're not always right. So you've got to be able to understand that.
Mhm. And like we are a success story, I guess. We're kind of like survivorship bias. So for those, it's not going to work out for every family, I don't think, and we have to be realistic to that. So I guess making sure, maybe having like check-in times like every 3 months where you can have an honest discussion and say like, is this right for us, or whether this,
Yeah. Kelsey always wants to talk about feelings.
yeah. Well, but just so like making sure that you're not like locked in,
Yeah.
and that this is something that you're going to grow resentment for, like making sure you guys have an
That's
out.
very important. Resentment can grow very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about not only family, but VAs, business partners, anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, sure. Very
Oh
true.
my gosh. She's only siding with you. She probably has no notepads whatsoever, but she just likes you.
Nah.
All right.
Nope.
So I think that's it. We're getting close. Yeah, we're closing in on 90 minutes on this one. I didn't know if this was going to be a short episode or a long episode, but anyways, if you do have any other questions for Kelsey and I, you can always post it in the group. Anything you'd like to close out with?
All right. Well, like I said before, we have a brand new blog on our website. It's from our sponsor Z. So go check it out. You just got to go to the blog tab on the Lunch with Norm website. 5 expensive mistakes FBA sellers make when going global. If you have any questions at all about the show or podcast, or just want to get in touch with me, it's k@lunchwithnorm.com. You can head over to our Facebook group, Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective, for any questions about Amazon or e-commerce, and we'd be happy to help. And I saw a video from Simon getting some merch. So thank you, Simon. Glad it came to you. And I think that's about it for next week's guest. Have we mentioned that yet?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Alina Vlaic is coming on, and this is a topic that I think everyone, a lot of the community has said they wanted more of, and that's product research and launches. So Alina is going to be talking about new ways of doing product research and launches in 2022. So stick around for that. And I think that's it. Make sure you smash those like buttons. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. That's the big red button if you're watching from YouTube. And follow us on social media. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. We love you. And I think that's it.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We tried to make it fun, but it is a serious topic. And yeah, we're going on 90 minutes. So, man, all we learned today is when you get Kelsey and I talking, we can talk a lot. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. And, you know, when we do kind of play around, it's only, we're only joking around with each other. But I think it was great. And if you do have any questions, throw it into the comment sections or throw it into our Facebook community, and we'll make sure that we do answer it. So other than that, join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for watching. Thanks for being part of our community. We could not do this without you. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend.
Lunch with them.